Hey everybody, welcome back to Black Lotus, where we talk about all things strange and unusual. And tonight we have a very special guest with us. We have Kitsie Duncan on with us from Amazon Prime's Oddity Files, as well as her YouTube channel, which is Paranormal X Road, both of which are absolutely excellent. And if you haven't checked them out, definitely do so. But anyway, so we're going to be talking to her in just a moment. But first, let's say hi to the rest of the crew. First up, we got Kimberly O'Connor with us. Yay! And then we've got Wild Trees, of course, our resident scientist.
Hey, happy to be here.
And then we have Michael Roser from DarkHour Paranormal Live, which is right here at YouTube. And you can check out their channels here at YouTube. Well, as far as Wild Trees and Michael Roser goes, you can check out their channels on YouTube, and I've got their links posted in the description. Also, Kimberly O'Connor has a really cool group over at Facebook. It's called Not So Paranormal, and I've been a member of that for quite a while, and that's actually how I met her. And so, yeah. But anyway, as I said, we have Kitsie Duncan with us. And if you don't know who she is, she has become really well known in the paranormal world as a compassionate researcher of the unexplained. She's an author, producer, director, and pursuer of not only the evidence of the spirit, but the story that the spirits are here to tell. She has a book out, and it's called I'd Rather Talk to Dead People, and which I love that title, by the way.
Yeah, great title.
My husband came up with that, and it's true. You know, people who breathe are generally disappointing.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth? But anyway, I was telling Kitsie prior to the broadcast that I had watched Paranormal X Road here at YouTube, but I had never caught an episode of the Oddity Files on Amazon Prime. And I finally did last night. And I went to the third season, and it was just episode 1 because I didn't want to jump into it from the beginning. I wanted to catch it when it was, a little
Good
more
call.
well seasoned. And so I have to admit that I'm not one to watch ghost hunting shows. I think most of them are just absolutely ridiculous. They have these fake jump scares.
That was great.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I've talked to a lot of paranormal investigators, and they're like, it is nothing like you see on television. It's a lot of hurry up and wait, and it's really kind of a boring job unless something major happens, which is, so what they have to do for Hollywood purposes is they have to jazz it up. And that's one of the things that I liked about the Oddity Files, Kitsie, because you guys, that team isn't anything like that. I mean, you guys are like, first of all, you're very down to earth.
Yes.
You have no problem saying shit and fuck. And I like that idea.
Of course, like a sailor, sir.
I mean, I think I remember something happened, and one of you, I think it was one of the others on your team, he goes, "What the fuck was that?" And I thought, oh,
it's probably my son.
Yeah, but yeah, I love that show. So viewers, if you have yet to check that out, definitely do so. But Chuck Bam in the room says Zach Baggins is an American actor. Yeah, you got that right, Chuck.
He's an entertainer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kitsie, I want to get right into you here. Tell us how you got started with the paranormal investigations, and what piqued your interest in the paranormal to begin with.
So I grew up terrified of it. I actually grew up in, every neighborhood has that haunted house. I was like, oh yeah, that's the house. It's haunted. Well, apparently my friends were saying that about my house and didn't tell me till I was a teenager. Thanks, guys. But my mother handled it very well for me and just kept blaming it on my overactive imagination. And I'm really glad that she did, because Lord only knows what I would have ended up like had she not. But we did have the one ghost that everybody talked about that would hide things. And something would go missing. Mom would say, give it a couple days. The ghost will bring it back exactly where we left it. And it did every single time. And I was talking to my mom the other day, and apparently that ghost has followed her from house to house since that house, which is kind of cool. She doesn't mind always. Now, my sister had a more terrifying experience in that house that I've just found out about since I wrote my book. So she's not giving me all the details yet. I know that she was grabbed while she was sleeping at one point. She claims she's not scared of it. But again, she's not really talking to me about it. So that's my next goal, is to get my sister's story. So I was terrified of it. I ended up buying that house. No, let me go back. So in my teen years, once I found out the house was haunted, I had a friend sleeping over. I'm like, oh my God, let's get a Ouija board. It's going to be so much fun. You know, teenage sleepovers. There was no negligees or pillow fights, I swear. We did our Ouija board session in the daylight on my back patio while Mom and Dad were at my sister's softball practice. And it was great. Figured out Mom and Dad were going to be home soon. We hurried up, put it away, put it up, because it had a stigma then in the late 80s as much as it does now. It probably has more of one now. And the next morning, I was woken up to a gruff voice saying very loudly, that was not my father, who's the only other man in the house. It just said, "Get out." And I smacked my friend Michelle. I said, oh my God, we got to get this Ouija board out of here. So we did. It was quite comical trying to dispose of the Ouija board because we knew that it didn't burn. So we tried to run over it with a car, and just long story short, we just threw it in the alley garbage can. Years later, I had purchased that house from my parents, and my youngest son was colicky. And this night, I decided I was just going to let him cry himself to sleep, just like, you know, my mother-in-law and my mom were telling me. But I had the baby monitor. And I don't know if you guys remember the early 90s baby monitors. I'm really dating myself here, but there was no screen. It was just pretty much like a one-way walkie-talkie in the baby's room, and then you could hear in your room. Yeah. And I heard that same voice over my son crying in bed say, "Shut up." So, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay terrified of this. If the movie Poltergeist didn't do it well enough, this has definitely terrified me of it.
Right.
And then late 90s, my dad passed away suddenly. There were no goodbyes. It was a massive heart attack. He died happy. He was watching the Indiana Hoosiers play basketball. But it hurt. It stung. It changed me and my entire family. And so my husband and I moved away to where we're at now, which is more southern Indiana. And I felt a presence. I don't know how I knew it was a presence. I just, you know how I'm in the dark in the kitchen checking for something in the fridge, and I'm like, oh my God, there's something behind me. And you hear me running up the stairs going, oh! But it opened my eyes a little more because I'm like, what if that's my dad? So I did open myself up to it, and I started with Mr. Zach Baggins and watched every single episode of Ghost Adventures. But before that, I started with the Ghost Lab guys, the Kling brothers. And I'm like, well, you know, when they're scared, they just yell at the ghosts and treat them like crap. And the worst thing that happens is some lights go off on some equipment. Nobody's dying like the movie Poltergeist. Nobody's being maimed or injured. I'm like, this isn't nearly as terrifying as I thought it was. So I was down. I watched every single show I could. I read all the information online that I could. And then I met a couple who took me along on one of their team's investigations. And when I walked into the location, I felt so at home and at peace. And I'm like, oh, I can do this. Until one of said team members in, true form, yelled up the stairs with his arms wide open, "Come at me, bro." And then I decided that wasn't the team for me.
Well, one of the things I like about this show is that you're sensitive to the spirit's needs. I mean, you don't make demands of the things, and you always ask politely, and one of the things that drives me nuts is that kind of thing when they're making demands of spirits. And I'll tell you, if I were a spirit, I'd be like, well, hell with you. I'm not gonna.
No kidding.
Bow to your beck and call. It's ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, but one of the things I want to ask you is that you ask them to respect you as well. And how well do you think that works? I mean, what rules do they have to obey?
I don't know that they have to obey any rules, to be perfectly honest. I always told them, you're not allowed to follow me home. And I've had a few follow me home. So I feel like it's not a lot has changed other than the plane they're on. I feel like they still have free will. I feel like if somebody can I cuss?
Yeah, sure.
If somebody's an asshole in life, they're going to be an asshole in death. And assholes in death are called demons.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense.
is where I'm at with it. At least from the experiences I've had.
Well, let me ask you this I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to ask you very quickly while it's on my mind. There's a lot of controversy in respect to identification of an energy being human or non-human, and of course, many discrepancies that go into that sort of analysis. In your opinion, in your experience, what identifies a particular entity that is perhaps exhibiting poltergeist or demonic behavior, wherein you can say this was actually somebody who had incarnated in human form, and we're not dealing with a long lost ancient non-human entity?
I have never witnessed any poltergeist activity in my life, in my 12 years of doing this. I've done a lot of research on poltergeist activity, and sometimes it's more our energy than a spirit's energy from what I've read. I don't bring religion into my investigations in any way, shape, or form. So I think there are no demons when I go.
The terminology may be in some respects relative, but let's just say it's a non-human entity versus a human entity.
There's one spirit I dealt with at one location that I can't put my finger on it. The next day in meditation, I think I saw it, and it looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, climbing up the stairs of the basement of this location. Really freaking freaked me out. I immediately called a medium and I'm like, please tell me whatever this is didn't follow me home. She said, no, you're fine. But I don't know. Why would there be inhuman spirits if all the other spirits are human? I don't grasp the whole inhuman spirit thing. I wonder if, because some of these spirits have been around for so long, that they kind of lose their human identity. They're just roaming and wandering. Again, I'm just making this shit up. Nobody knows for sure what's going on. Do you have a copy of the rule book? Because I don't. But personally, that's just my opinion.
Right. No, and I absolutely respect that. And this is why I'm asking, because I'd love to hear, from your experiences and your research, because everybody has a different, experience, if you were to say that. But, if you were to take, let's per se, you have an ancient culture who is versed in what we might consider to be magic nowadays, where it was something very commonplace for them to call in spirits or elementals or earthly spirits that were connected in very large, again, in an organic fashion to the earth itself, whether we would deem it positive or negative. There were many cultures who utilized and had relationships with those spirits. Now, in making a differentiation between someone who has incarnated and then passed on and continued to keep those negative traits or positive traits as it may be, versus an energy that carries a different vibration or frequency that may be interpreted as heavier or perhaps it's just something we're not understanding because it's more elemental or doesn't fit our energetic signature. So no, this is very curious. Thank you for your insight.
No, I like the way you explain that as well. I have not met any of these spirits or energies or whatever it is you'd like to call them, but I'm open. I totally am. I believe that the reason I'm not getting very many negative spirits in my investigations is because I go in with love, light, peace, and positivity. And I tell them that right off the bat. I say, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to harm you. I'm not here to take you away. I'm here to love, light, peace, and positivity. And I flat out tell them, I expect the same of you. Maybe that's why I haven't come across this is all things I'm 12 years later still trying to figure out. Now, was I terrified in the beginning? Fuck yeah, I was. There were some moments where I was like, I am unsure about what's going on. I feel like if I don't die of a heart attack, this ghost is going to kidnap me or something, you know. But over the years, you learn. It's no different than dealing with people in real life. You show them respect, and 9 times out of 10, they'll show it back. Now, have I had to pull the mommy voice on a few of them? Yeah. Did it work? Yeah. But I mean, I'm pretty intimidating in real life too. So.
You had mentioned something a little earlier that the spirits in your house would steal something, you know, keys or what have you. I've always wondered, why do they do that? We've had that happen here.
I think they get bored.
I think that's it. I think they're just playing with us.
Can you imagine the amount of energy it takes to actually move the stuff and then bring it back? I mean, you got to be really bored to waste all that energy on that. Whereas you could just moan in a room and get the same, you know, response. So.
Kim, Wild, do you have any questions?
Kimberly, you could go first.
I just like her, the way that she puts everything. Yeah, you go in with positive energy, you expect it back. You go in with negative energy, that's what you're going to get. That's the
Makes
same
sense.
way what you're going to get. You walk in
and you go in with
9 out of 10, you're going to get challenged.
Yeah, and people go in being terrified and scared and looking for the worst, no matter what they could get the same evidence I get. And then they'll twist it so it's evil or demonic or whatever the buzzword is for that day. Whereas I'm going in with the love, light, peace, and positivity. And I'm like, oh, they're just telling me their story. So, I mean, have I been called a bitch and a slut by a ghost? Yeah, I have. But that's when I pull the mommy voice on. I'm like, boys, I am not having this. Let's have a real conversation. So.
Maybe I should try pulling the mommy voice on my next investigation. It might yield some results. I don't know. They might see the beard and think it's not as befitting. You know, they might listen to you more readily than me. So,
well, you can use the daddy voice. I'm sure it's just as intimidating.
I don't know. Mothers have a certain commanding power.
Yeah, right.
I think you know what I mean.
We got that look too.
Oh yes, you do. It's very intense sometimes.
But I'm very disappointed in you. Look.
Wild Trees, what's on your mind here? Do you have any questions that have been
brewing
in your head?
Yeah, I have a few points. Kitsie, thank you for being here. I'm really enjoying being here. You're such a great presence, such a great personality. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So I have one question, and I have one like a Shark Tank style business pitch. I want to get your opinion, but we'll save that one maybe for later. Okay, I'll ask you the question.
Okay.
I'll try to get the pitch in later. Okay. Since you're so experienced, and like you said, there is no rule book for paranormal dealing with these problems. I wonder if you were speaking to someone who doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't have a lot of resources, and they're having a paranormal problem, you know, what steps would you outline for them to take to fix their problem, basically?
What I tell people right off the bat is talk to them out loud. Talk to them. If you can hear them or hear what they're doing, they can hear you. And let them know that you're not here to be scared. I mean, if it's a new house that's been haunted, it's your house now. But do it with empathy and concern for them as well. And I mean, if you're just sitting there yelling and going, be gone and blah, 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 hellfire and stuff and things, I don't think you're going to get the same reaction. Whereas if you try to have a conversation, let's say you have a squatter in your house, you know,
Right.
you're going to be like, what are you doing here? Okay. As you're dialing 911, right? But why don't you come downstairs, you know? So just treat them like they're human beings. You just can't see them. And then get a set of dowsing rods, you know, try that. Maybe they want to tell you their story. My end all of this is when there's paranormal activity, unless it's like Waverly Hills or something, you know, that's notoriously haunted. If you're getting activity in your home, they're reaching out to you because they are trying to communicate with you and they just need to tell you something. So if you feel like you're being touched, maybe they're like, hey, I got to tell you something. Or you feel a push. Maybe they just, you know, reached out a little too hard. I wouldn't know how to use my energy if I didn't have hands.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
If this is something that is more natural to our experience as human beings rather than unnatural, just assuming that we may have forgotten this part of ourselves, as well as many other esoteric talents, as you might call them, what significance might this awareness, and as it grows into more of an awareness of the paranormal world and that, you know, there is some existence after life and so forth, what significance might that play in our daily lives today?
That's an excellent question. I mean, that's how I live my life right now. So has my life changed for the better? Absolutely. Do I feel like somebody's always got my back? Yeah, it's my spirit guides. It's my ancestors. This paranormal world has opened me up to that world recently. I cannot read enough about spirit guides and guardian angels and your ancestors, that they're all just there for you to help guide you through this life. So, and I'm trying to spread that word so hard right now. People, don't be scared of them. They're just here. Sometimes they're here to help. Sometimes they're here to communicate. Sometimes they're like, what are you doing in my house? So
it sounds like you've connected to possibly the highest vision of yourself. And with that sort of passion, is a real good indicator that you're on that deeper path that you've come to access and traverse here in life. In respect to the collective, I mean, obviously we have many people of different awareness and consciousness levels, and people are rooted in belief and so forth. Would it be as appropriate to give them this particular path that works for you and assume that it might work more or less for the collective? I hope I'm explaining this correctly.
You are. I think like if the whole world were to open up to this, would it be a magical freaking world? Fuck yeah, it would be. But the world's not ready. I wish it was. I really, 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 really wish it was. And people have to have their own awakening, for lack of a better term, when they're ready. It's not something you can force on people. But if I, with my new show, Paranormal Crossroad, can go to somebody's house and say, you know what? I think you might be an empath, and that's why you're seeing things that not other people are seeing. And if I can, you know, help you along that path because I was there 12 years ago, I am more than willing to do so. The world as a whole, not ready. I mean, we can't even, you know, don't even get me started on the world. I'd rather talk to dead people.
Nice.
I have a question. I have a question about this. Is kind of, I guess, a personal question, but I want your advice. So, I've been thinking about doing this, using a Ouija board by myself without another person to contact spirits that have physically contacted me in the past. So I think it's a good idea. I know there's dangers, but what do you think? Do you think I should do that?
I have never done that, and I don't know why. I view Ouija boards as no different than dowsing rods or a K2. It's a way to communicate with spirits. The stigma, Hollywood. I literally was watching a Friends episode today, and it opened up with Monica and Phoebe playing with a Ouija board. Nothing was said about it. Nothing bad happened. They just put it away and started talking to Joey. I'm like, wait a minute, how did I not notice that the first time? Like, it was just an everyday thing. I will not lie. I'm scared to use it by myself, but it's Hollywood. That's why. If you want to do it, you videotape that shit and send it to me because I want to see it.
May I piggyback something on that very quickly? It's often mentioned that of course, with the Ouija board you go and buy in the store, that particular construct, because of the way that it was made, possibly the materials and the intention behind it, you're using that and you're actually accessing some of these lower astral planes, and that's the energy you're inviting in. Now, I've even had clairvoyants suggest this, and I think it was just something that we were talking about in passing, if you will. They said, if you create your own Ouija board, you are now instilling your own energy into it, and if you keep your thoughts pure while you're building, is the same way that you would keep your thoughts pure while you're creating food that you are going to ingest, right, on an energetic level. If you're able to do that, then you would safely be able to contact perhaps your guides in the higher realms. Now, I did give this a run. I did try this at one point in my life. And although it felt very natural to sit with my own Ouija board the way I designed it using this glass, it was still very confusing what I got, but I absolutely made contact with something, and I never had any repercussions or felt like I shouldn't have been doing that at the time. So I definitely think there was a difference in making it with my own hands and intentions rather than buying something pre-made and using it in that respect. So just a thought for you, mate.
Do you really think Parker's Brothers is sitting there putting bad intentions into the Ouija boards?
It's
a legit question.
No, absolutely. It's a benign approach to what they're making. There is no intention behind it. It's, if anything, they're there to make a profit. And that sort of energy, I would imagine, would go into the creation of whatever it is they're making, especially if we're using that instrument to contact different vibrational realities. It might just be a happen chance that their particular structure does do that. I mean, it may be something that we've had in ancient past, but have used in a different way, and they picked it up along the way, and it's become a novelty now, but still is a very powerful tool. Many things we can cite on the market that have been, again, marketed as something entertaining, but in fact, there's something much more behind it.
But before the Exorcist movie, I mean, the Ouija boards were parlor games in the olden Victorian times where there weren't demons coming through. There weren't lower vibrations. I'm just curious of your opinion. I am not arguing this in any way, shape, or form.
I'm not taking
That's not me.
that way. No, no, go ahead.
And I collect them, actually. I've got all kinds of, I don't know if you guys can see up there on my top shelf.
Oh, yeah.
Pointing to it like you guys can see it. Yeah, I'm obsessed with them. It's it's probably because of that experience I had. But I love the old parlor game seance from the Victorian times. I'm obsessed with it. And back then, I know there was a lot of people that were false mediums, and Houdini did his whole thing debunking all the mediums, but it was honestly a way for people to pass time back in the day. And I'm wondering how was it the 60s that The Exorcist came out, that just and all of a sudden that now the lower vibrations are coming through.
Well, there's two thoughts I have
think
on
they're
that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Personally, I think they're beautiful.
They're wonderful works of art, and I've seen some very ornate Ouija boards, and of course the implication behind them strengthens what you're seeing and perhaps our fascination with those sort of tools. But my two answers for what you're mentioning here is that yes, it was absolutely used as entertainment, but as much as it matters perhaps the location that you're doing this in, I think it matters more the person who's actually driving the board and the intention behind that. Were they out drinking and pulling us out over the pool table and just having a good time? Varying results could happen. Perhaps. Yes, exactly.
Intent is everything.
And that being said, you have to look at the time period itself. How conscious and what level of consciousness were we on at that point? Perhaps looking at the Yuga cycle in respect to that 26,000 year cycle where consciousness of the entire planet is elevated and then declines, hits a bottom point and comes back around again, traversing that many years. So were some of those realms accessible back then, even using a tool like the Ouija board, perhaps when they are today in a different way? Maybe we're in a thinner sort of etheric veil, whereas back then it was a little bit thicker given in respect to our consciousness.
Oh, I feel like it's so thin right now. How about you guys?
Oh God, yes, absolutely. You can see right through the transparent thing.
What is going on?
More people are awakening.
Yeah,
I
It's
think
a
that's
collective.
it.
Yeah.
I think that's it, Kimberly. I think more people are awakening to the fact that this is very real, and
Right.
so, yeah. And so the more we get that kind of collective consciousness, the more we're going to interact with the other side. Same thing with like the whole UFO thing right now. I mean, it seems like a day doesn't go by without somebody reporting UFOs. Now, whether or not they're hoaxers or not is not my concern. I just like the idea that the idea is getting spread and more people are accepting the fact that they are real. And so I think it's the same thing with the veil.
Yeah, I agree. And welcome aboard, people. Welcome aboard.
We hope you enjoy
Kitsie,
your ride.
Kitsie, you mentioned that you've been doing this for about 12 years now. And I imagine you've been on many, 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 many investigations. Which one would you say is probably the most compelling out of all of them?
If you want to go Oddity Files days, there's a haunted attraction. So there's a difference. There's the places you go on Halloween where the actors jump out at you. That's a haunted attraction versus a haunted house that is actually haunted in Salt Lake City. It's called Fear Factory. And my most it's season 3. So when you do go back to watch more season 3, check this one out. There was a silo there that was known from the boys that like to go on adventures as being completely demonic. There were rituals done there. There were, all the demons in this one silo in Salt Lake City. Boy. Was I a little nervous going in? Absolutely, because this is the first place I had ever been where it was touted as demonic on my own with my son and my friends. So I went in and we were getting a little bit of activity with the spirit box. And Clayton and his boyfriend, James, went out to grab the pizza that we had ordered because the delivery had arrived. And as soon as those boys walked out, it was myself and my son Carter in there. And I hear the spirit box go, "Here it goes." And I'm like, "Here what goes?" And it goes, devil, demon. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not here for that. I don't even believe you. Can we have a real conversation? And we did. And we found out that of the 6 spirits that were in the silo, the main one that spoke with us, her name was Linda. And she and her fellow spirits believed they had to act like demons because of what the show brought out to the public. And I get so teary-eyed and goosebumpy every time I tell this, but I asked her, I said, "Is there anything you'd like me to tell the owners of this place?" And she goes, "We are just people. Clear as a fucking bell. We are just people." And we're like, you know what? If you don't want to act like demons, don't act like demons. And yes, we will absolutely tell the owners of this place. It was so beautiful.
Sounds powerful.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
interesting.
The one thing I'd like to ask is, do you make any attempt to send them to another realm? To help them?
Don't.
And no.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And just like you had made that point, the exploiting part of these spirits is what really gets on my nerves so damn hard.
Girl,
it's sad.
Same. Yeah. My biggest fear with sending ghosts or spirits, energies, whatever we decide to call them, to the other side, to the light, whatever it may be over there. One, I feel they have free will. I've had them tell me they have free will so they can come and go as they please. If they ask me for help, I'll tell them, look for a light and go towards that. But if I'm so worried that if I am, at some location where it used to be a brothel and I've got some call girl that I'm dealing with who wants to go to the other side, and I do the stuff and the things, and she ends up in a kindergarten classroom, I would feel terrible.
Yeah, definitely.
But I will tell, if you want help, if you want to go, look for the light, look for family members. And I believe, I'm sorry?
A lot of times there's earthbound spirits, and sometimes they don't even know that they've even passed over, especially if they passed at a fast rate.
Correct. And I never assume that they know that they're dead. And I don't tell them if they don't know that they're dead. That's just a respect thing. It's like not my place. I talk to them like they're standing right there next to me if they don't know.
So one of the things I like about your show is that you do use a spirit box, and the episode that I saw, I mean, it was coming through crystal clear. A lot of these things, I mean, it could be taken one way or the other, I mean, but these were coming through, I mean, just crystal. I mean, it was
I know what
obvious
episode you're talking about. We were talking to a soldier from the Civil War.
Yeah, right.
And we had asked him how many people are here aside from us, because I don't say spirits, I don't say ghosts, because I never assume. And he literally said 6 plus an officer. Yeah. And I was like, damn, boy, that was good.
And it was like we're talking now. I mean, it was that clear. Just amazed me. But in your investigations, have you ever found that spirits are trying to communicate to us in order to warn us about something?
Not yet. I hope that day doesn't come, because that probably means some shit's about to go down. No, I hope that they would warn us if they know something terrible is going to happen. But I've never been warned of anything.
I mean, doing what we do, we delve into a lot of different subjects. And, I mean, like, for instance, Mothman is supposed to be a harbinger of doom kind of thing. And I just kind of,
there.
Yeah. So, and I just kind of wonder if the same can be applied to a spirit.
I would assume so. I would assume it would be more of your own personal spirit guides guiding you in the right direction. If it's like personal things like that. I don't know. I'm at this point where the communication has been so good with the spirits. I'm like, God, do I ask them exactly what happens after we die? I did that. Actually, the next episode of Paranormal Crossroads or Paranormal X Road, we were speaking to a spirit who was murdered 100 years ago. She knew she was murdered. It's still a cold case. We believe we solved it. But I asked her, I'm like, okay, I've never done this before. Is there a heaven? And she said, yes, there was. And then it comes over and the spirit box and it goes, and it's wonderful. So I don't know if they're using the term heaven as in just the afterlife as in general or what it is. And then I get all flustered and I'm like, oh shit, what do I ask now? Because when you're in the moment and you're getting these answers, you just, and then I'm like, who killed you? So I get really excited.
How often do you think that happens where the spirit is making itself known in order to perhaps help catch their killer?
I don't know, but I was really excited to meet this one. I am like a murderino. I love the true crime. ID Network is my jam. If I'm not watching Travel Channel, I'm watching ID Network. Well, I don't even watch any of them anymore. I got rid of cable and just got Discovery Plus. But I believe if somebody, I can't believe it hasn't been solved before that, because this place has been investigated for years and years and years. Ghost Hunters was there. I haven't watched the episode, but I guess they were under the assumption that she didn't know she was dead. Girl knew she was dead. Just putting that out there. And they didn't even touch on the murder or anything. I was all like, Dr. Kanabe. I am a true crime buff. I like a good murder mystery. If you could tell me who killed you, you would make me a very happy camper.
Have you ever had?
She did.
I was gonna say, have you ever had them tell you something like that?
Yeah, she told me who killed her, and she told me she's forgiven him. And I don't want to give too much away because the episode drops on the 28th of this month.
Awesome.
Out of curiosity, do you think that it's easier to forgive an action like somebody taking your life while being on the other side rather than being in a body? And if so, why?
I would assume, again, all my little spirit guide books I've been reading lately because it's my new jam, that, just things are different there. There's a lot less worry. There's a lot less stress. There's a lot more love, light. I mean, you're going to get sick of me saying it, but love, light, peace, and positivity going on the other side. And I mean, we as humans are most of us are just trying to do the best we can and get through life. And, I think some people get lost along the way, and it's terrifying as humans that those people get lost like that. But I do think in the afterlife, there's a lot more. I don't even know if it's forgiveness. I think you're just over it at that point. That's, again, just my opinion. Please don't come at me.
Do you think
Nope.
Do you think there's a difference between the afterlife and heaven? Like, are people, or how do I explain this? Are spirits stuck here and need to go somewhere else, or do you think it's all the same?
Personally, I've never really said this on a show like this before. I believe it's all the same. Again, okay. I don't bring religion into this because I don't have a religion. I just believe if you're good to people, people will be good to you. Has that bit me in the ass? Fuck yeah, it has. But I believe that is the way people should be. I believe that it's like DarkHour has been saying here. It's a collective on the other side where we've all learned from our lives on Earth and hope to learn more by observing Earth and whatever else is going on that. No answers, no legit answers. That's just my vibe I get from it, from doing it for so long.
Have you ever encountered a shadow person?
I have, and it was no scarier than any other spirit I've dealt with. I personally believe that some spirits know how to show themselves as a shadow person. Some spirits know how to show themselves as a light that's floating in the air. I've encountered and filmed, again, season 3, Oddity Files, a spirit whose head and hand were shown to me and my camera as a glowing ball of light. Sometimes they look see-through. Sometimes I just believe again, I'm giving you guys all my inside stuff in my head. I never tell anybody. I believe it's a learning process on the other side. I really do.
Yeah. So you're not one to believe that shadow people are necessarily spirits of people.
Oh, I believe they are.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. I believe they're all spirits of people. We are just people.
Kim, you were going to say something, I think?
What I was saying was, she said that they come across as all different things, and what I was saying was they're showing their different uniqueness, their own different way.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I like that too, actually. Huh.
So
clever.
Your new paranormal investigative team is all female.
It is. It's me and my girlfriends.
I've heard other paranormal investigators tell me, and even males will tell me, that they will always have a female on board with them. And the reason being is because females tend to be more psychically attuned. Do you find that to be the case?
I do. I think women are just more open to it. We're just a little more... we have babies, we raise those kids, and you know when they're doing something wrong. I mean, whether you've had children or not, it's part of part of our DNA, I believe. I believe some men have it as well, but not all men are as open to it as women are. But these girls on my team, they are wide open to that shit, and I am so happy to have them all there.
Awesome.
Ralph, what about you? Where you at?
I'm just enjoying your show the other night, and I was fascinated by the one we watched, which was the one with the what do you call it? The
It's like
octagon house?
Octagon Hall.
Yeah, Octagon Hall. And the flashlights going on and off and to what you're asking and stuff. Do you have that happen regularly, or is that an exception?
You know what? I think the veil's thinning because we never hardly ever got evidence from the flashlight sessions, but lately they are just dead on. We can have a set of dowsing rods out, the spirit box running on the side, and have the flashlight, and all three are being answered with the same yes or no, affirmative or non-affirmative. I don't know if me and my girls are just so in tune into what we're dealing with that it's easier for them to come through. I do firmly believe it's the energy you bring into an investigation, whether the spirits are wanting to respond to you, give you answers, tell their story.
Well, now now we have a bigger, let's say, panel of people that are doing this type of investigation as far as paranormal things, whereas centuries ago, even decades ago, it was unheard of at this magnitude. Whereas now they have a bigger opportunity.
Thank cable television for that. I mean, because it's more widely known that people go out and do these things. I mean, you have so many paranormal investigative shows out there that people are getting more and more involved.
Podcast.
Say again, I'm sorry?
I said not just cable TV, hon, but podcasts as well.
Yeah.
At this point,
absolutely.
Absolutely. I have a quick question about equipment for you. The flashlight technique, for those of you who don't know, essentially the way that I've learned it is that you're unscrewing the back, and the way the battery connects to the metal and the spring, when it sort of warms up a little bit, you'll have that very slight contact wherein it's not necessarily touching, but the idea is that the spirit might influence that in one way, shape, or form. Now, along with the idea of the metal expanding, and perhaps that's not something that we can measure so readily, especially not being scientists like Wild Trees. Is there equipment out there that compensates for that sort of thing? It being sort of common knowledge in respect to the method, wherein maybe they've made a specific type of metal that doesn't expand as much for that specific reason?
No, but somebody should get on that. Wild Trees, get on that.
Sounds like an excellent idea.
I did want to.
Can I steal that patent? I was going to say, can I steal that patent from you?
As long as you give us some of
maybe
your
I shouldn't
equipment,
say anything. Maybe I should go now, guys. I don't know. Hey, take the show down for a little while. I want to go through it real quick with an editor. Sorry. Go.
I did want to add as well is what I love about this new Paranormal Crossroad journey that I'm on. By the way, you can go to pxroad.com and all the stuff and all the things are there. But we're going in and we're helping people that are terrified and scared and sometimes just grieving that are dealing with paranormal activity. So I'm going into people's homes, which I said for years I would never, ever do because I was, again, afraid I was going to screw something up, like sending the brothel to the kindergarten class. But
that joke is hilarious. I'm sorry. That joke is hilarious. I laughed for 60 seconds after you said that. I could not stop laughing.
Yeah, but it has been the most magical experience of my life. So you guys were kind of talking about how, there's all the TV shows out and spirits have learned how to this, that, and the other. That being at people's homes and dealing with spirits who aren't dealing with paranormal investigators on a regular basis, I was scared because you think us investigators going into Waverly Hills have trained those spirits to use every single piece of equipment out there. But that's why I use a lot of dowsing rods and old school things on these personal investigations, just because it's easier to explain to them. They might be familiar with them. Maybe grandpa dowsed for a well back in the day, that kind of stuff. But one of the investigations I went to was actually a friend of mine had lost her son, and he wasn't able to speak in real life. He was paralyzed. He had the most beautiful smile and could light up a room. But that boy loved to watch the ghost shows when he was alive. And I walked into that place. Every single piece of equipment I brought out, including the SLS camera, as my girls like to call it, the stick figure camera, everything. He was like he was performing. He couldn't walk or really move in real life, and he was showing us that he has got it going on. And when I brought that spirit box out, and his mother was able to hear him say out loud for the first time ever that he loved her, this is my new jam. This is my new. It's my calling. And I was terrified of doing things like this for so long. I'm so sorry. I'm a little passionate about this new project, guys. It's been just last week, a man was crying the entire time once we figured out that it was his stepfather, that he only had a very short amount of years with, but he loved him so much and he formed him so much in his teen years. And it was just so freaking beautiful. So please check out my new show, pxroad.com. I want to get that out before, I don't know if this is an hour long or what. And please and thank you.
Well, I was about to ask you, your book, I'd Rather Talk to Dead People, can be found on Amazon, of course.
Yes.
But how can people contact you if they want to keep up with you?
Just go to flow.page/Kitsie Duncan. It's got links to my podcast, the Oddity Files show, the Paranormal X-Road show, my book, all my socials, which I'm really annoying on social media. I'm just going to put that out there. You might have to follow me. But yeah, it's flow.page/Kitsie Duncan.
I just friended you today on Facebook, and I loved your the top of your bio page, and it says, "I'm a pain in the ass."
Oh, dude, you met me. You know, I am a pain in the ass.
So I have a question for you. Do you have a favorite case?
You know, the one I was just telling you about. Well, these
Okay.
new ones, though, I can't. They're all just so beautiful. Yeah, I love bringing people peace that are scared of the paranormal activity in their house. That's, like I literally said, it's my new jam. You know, and then, you know, the investigation at Fear Factory, when the spirits were able to tell me that they were just people. At Bobby Mackey's, it was beautiful. Again, no demons when I was there. I went into the basement blindfolded, felt nothing vibrational wise.
Never heard anyone describe Bobby Mackey's as beautiful. I think that's beautiful in and of itself.
I met and saw and filmed the spirit of a young woman named Abby, who was raped at Bobby Mackey's and killed her rapist, who was from the mob days. This is all from her. I can't find any information online about it. So this was all from her. And then she followed me home. So sometimes I get a little too close to my spirits. But
do you have that happen a lot?
Two. So season 1, episode 1, Anna, she has actually become one of my spirit guides at this point. She followed me home. She used to make a lot of noise. Now she just talks to me in my head all the time because I'm crazy like that. And then Abby followed me home as well from Bobby Mackey's. But the thing is, both of those ladies, I connected with them the moment I started investigating that location, and I just communicated with them the entire night we were there. So I just made a connection that they didn't want to break, and I'm fine. I mean, I buy haunted dolls. They're down there. They don't do much. They just kind of sit there until I, bring some equipment out. But I'm not afraid of it anymore is what this all boils down to. I am not afraid of this stuff anymore.
Awesome.
That's very obvious in your show. And one of the things that I really respect about you is like I said, you're not jumping at every little sound. You reason with them. I mean, you don't, tell them, you can't do this and blah, 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 and be all bossy. Like, you're not like that. And that's one of the things I really like about this show. But
And
That's how I treat
entice
people
them.
that are breathing.
Right. You don't treat them and you don't go at them.
Yeah.
You do it very nicely and just like you're talking to, like you said, a person.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
It works for me. So don't fix what ain't broke.
there we go. Really. But we are going to get out of here, and I'm getting an indication that my Wi-Fi is low right now. I was mentioning earlier that we're having some severe windstorms in Las Vegas, and so it's messing with my Wi-Fi as usual. So we are going to need to get out of here. But anyway, folks, definitely check out Kitsie's book at Amazon.com. And you can also check out the audio files there on Amazon Prime, as well as Paranormal Crossroads. And it's Paranormal X Road here at YouTube. And I think you're really going to enjoy her investigations. I think she brings a unique perspective to all this, that I have never seen before. And I thought it was pretty crazy cool. But
You're making me blush over here.
oh, now. Anyway, folks, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and definitely hit that bell after you subscribe so you're notified every time we do upload a new episode. And also, if you like what we do here, buy us a cup of coffee, and you have a link in the description for that too. And it's a one-time thing. $5 is all we need. So please check that out. Anyway, folks, thanks a lot for watching.
Fabian,
Until next.
go
ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I just have an announcement. So next Sunday.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Next Sunday, we're going to talk about a hypothesis that I have. So I believe that some poltergeists, not all of them, are physical animals, and I have a plan on how to trap one. And that's what we're going to talk about. So I recommend you go to my channel, which is Wild Trees on YouTube. The link will be in the description. And I posted my last episode. Is called "What is a Poltergeist?" and how to trap one. And if you just listen to the first 20 minutes, it'll give you a great background on what poltergeists are. But if you do that follow-up, I think it'll help you with next week's episode. And that's it.
Huh. Okay.
Interesting.
When is that going to be posted?
That episode is already up. But next week is when we're going to. Yeah, next week is when we're going to. On this show, we're going to talk to Stephanie Quick about that.
Okay.
Great. All right, folks. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, keep thinking and question everything.
Bye.